Communication is absolutely crucial in this day and age. So in this video, I'm going to discuss 6 tips that you can use to grow as a developer and be an effective communicator. Getting started, let's talk about knowing your audience. Before communication can really take place, you need to know who you're communicating to. So if this is your grandma or your 5-year-old, it's going to vary, right? So based on your audience, you need to tailor fit your approach, whatever it is you're communicating. Maybe have supplemental things that kind of help dictate that communication forward. And it's fuzzy when I'm talking about this, but when you have it in practice, you'll realize you need that supplemental thing, whatever it be, like a visual aid or something, which I'll talk about soon, to get the point across, to make it simple and just keep it easy on the person either listening or trying to listen to you. The next tip I would say for effective communication is thinking about using as examples as your guide. So something like analogies or actually real world use cases are really powerful. Kind of dumbs things down and gets the point across a little better. People love hearing stories, especially about something that's exciting or some big event that happened. It really captures their attention, keeps them engaged, and it really provokes more thought, more intent in the way you communicate. So as a developer, something like encryption, you could compare it to sending like a secret message and like a locked box to someone, and then that person on the other end has to have a key to decode it. So simple like that. It's like having a key to a lock, you know. Encryption is something like that. You could do something like a firewall, compare it to like a security guard that's working at a mall or something that, you know, is just there just in case to not have any bad guys come in, you know. So little things like that are like analogies. More story-driven things are definitely something you want to relatable to you. So I think it makes more of an impact if it's based around what happened to you in some case. So podcasts that come to mind are like My First Million. If you've ever listened to that one, they're really good storytellers, and I think that's why that's like one of the top ones out there as far as the business podcasts go. So those guys can tell stories like there's no tomorrow, and they're really good at it. And I think that's what's compelling and why people keep being engaged along the way. So, without a doubt, one of the simplest ways of keeping communication simple and effective is keeping things simple. So just dumbing it down, like really.
Hi, I'm Earth. Have we met?
Maybe heard that expression, explain it to me like I'm 5, and that really applies. Like it may be a joke and you read that and you're laughing or smirking, whatever it be, but actually that really applies. And I found even in like when I search a query like using ChatGPT or some sort of AI tool, I'll actually literally tell the tool to say dumb this down like I'm 5 years old or less, and use simple words and all that stuff, because it likes to, you know, be very technical. Like especially developers, we're so technical, we overanalyze, we want to know the numbers, the details, the stats, all those things. But in reality, the layman, the person that's just on the other end, it's like they just want to know the outcome, if it benefits them or not, and what they need to do about whatever situation that's in. So keep that in mind. I've mentioned this before, but something like visual aids is pretty crucial. So someone like me, I'm a product person by day. So I work a lot with design on the front end as well as some back end stuff too these days. I started as a designer, but those visual cues, those visual things were my lifeblood. So like if I didn't have visuals, I couldn't figure it out. My brain doesn't work that way. So many people are that way. Some aren't, and that's okay. But visuals always help, even if it's supplemental. So if you're delivering some sort of presentation or something, on your slides, don't even have words because no one reads. So I would think, like, honestly, we can talk another time about not even using a slide deck, but the visuals or something along those lines really help people keep engaged. We're visual creatures. We look at things, come up with our own thoughts, formulate them, and then regurgitate them in communication. So that's one of those things that's like make or break. And if you don't have some of that stuff, you might have some, you know, some wandering eyes that just go off into the distance, into the ether, or your stuff's just boring, or somehow you have to liven it up to keep people engaged and not actually understand what it is you're trying to communicate. So that's pretty crucial. Not lastly, but second to last, is encouraging interaction. So anything along the lines of questions or trivia, stuff like those things, like raising hands, I've found to be, those things are pretty impactful. They're not like crucial to have, but it is useful, especially at like conferences or something. You see presenters always ask the audience sometimes something or try to get them involved. You notice is wandering off, not considering what you're saying. You might need some sort of cue to get them involved and to actually like resurface their attention and get back in the weeds of things. You're not going to win with everyone, but it is one of those things where I think it's pretty powerful. Okay, the last one, and I think the one that's really like 10x to my personal world is leaning into writing, especially long form writing. And there's a variety of benefits to this, but I think when you use tools at work between your team, other developers, or something of that nature, you're constantly getting your attention just all over the place. Tools like Slack come to mind. Like, while it's super cool tech and it's useful to have that instant, hit of dopamine, honestly, it is the biggest distraction in the workplace. And if I don't work somewhere that uses Slack, thankfully, but I did before, and it was honestly my biggest gripe. I couldn't stand all the notifications, all that stuff. Long form writing is an alternative to that. So this is where you kind of maybe share a document with your thoughts and feedback. Obviously, there's a time and place for instant messages, all those things, but they're typically like knee-jerk reactions. So whatever you're thinking at the time, you just spit it out, and it's just out there. And sometimes you don't formulate that thought. You don't take the time to write something intentful with a lot of revisions involved. I'm a writer. I'm on this blog. My web crunch is actually a blog first. So before the YouTube started, it was strictly blog. So I've always written. And that approach to me lets me, formulate real intentional thought, make it really simplified so I can just take out all the junk I don't need. And then the bonus, I think, is always having something to refer back to. So if you've ever been on a call with someone, like a physical phone call, not just like Zoom, there's no like history of it really. Like, you don't, unless you're recording it like secretly or something, you don't have that like archive, and it's good and bad because sometimes it doesn't need to be, but a lot of times you forget something, you didn't jot it down in time. Like myself, I was on a dog walk once and I needed to talk to my doctor, and they gave me this other number to call, and at the time I had nothing to write on, so I had to just like sort of hope and pray I remember the number. Turns out I didn't. I called the wrong place after that. It was a total time suck. I had to call back the doctor, all those things. So case in point, writing, it's huge. And I think if you take the time to get really good at writing, you don't need to be like a novelist or anything, but digging into communicating effectively between your teammates, your colleagues, even your spouse, whoever is in your world, is really crucial. And I think it's going to pay dividends along the way. Today, in this age, you can actually make tons of money just being a writer on newsletters, all those things, or just developing new tools. Specifically for developers in our world, like creating really good documentation is like so crucial. It saves you time because no one's coming down to your neck of the woods to like figure out a problem every day. And instead, it's already documented that you can point them in that direction. They could typically figure things out themselves. So I hope that was useful. Communication, I think, is really crucial in our world, especially if you're a remote worker. You can't always be in the same place as your other colleagues, and without things like writing, we can't really get the job done. So I think just honing in on that craft, getting good at it, and then getting your point across in a simplified manner really makes a difference. All right, that's it for now. I'll see you in the next video. So long.